Hi, Flower. Um, Great job on this week's, our final week, blog post all about social media and kind of its effect in society and in the classroom, or in your case, in the dietetics field. So I really loved your first slide when it talked about kind of the different areas that social media kind of plays a role in society with the social, emotional, and intellectual aspects. With social, it's kind of how we interact with others, it's how we communicate. But you also talked about how in that picture that you showed, people were able to provide feedback. So if someone posts a picture, say on Instagram, of a food or a meal or something, then people could maybe try that meal and then provide feedback. So that's another kind of way to use social media in your field, and I thought that was cool and interesting. Then just moving on to into the emotional side of things in your field. Um, and how that post was kind of talking about how people think about food and how people may judge people for what they eat and that sort of thing. And it's important to kind of keep a neutral perspective, which I thought was interesting. Um, and then just going on into the intellectual aspect of social media, it's kind of how we transfer knowledge. You can post some research, that sort of thing. Then moving on kind of into the classroom. Um, and you talked about how social media can definitely have both a positive and negative impact, and that's absolutely true. Um, I liked how you still integrated all of the social, intellectual, and emotional, and kind of talked about how it exists within a frame of ethics. Um, but as far as kind of the social aspect in the classroom, it allows for students to engage with other peers as well as with their teachers. Um, for the emotional part, it can cause bullying. It can also lower self-esteem because kids nowadays are all about the number of likes they get on a post. They're not going to post something if they're not going to get a lot of likes. And I think that's really kind of harmed our kids nowadays because they're showing who they're not, like they're showing a different side of themselves. They're only showing what they want people to see. And if they don't get a certain number of likes, it's going to lower their self-esteem. And so, definitely that is a huge con of social media. And like you said, bullying is huge. And then you kind of went on and talked about kind of the passive use. And we don't really think about this, but that's just like when we're scrolling. And so if they're not at school and they're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and kids like see a different person and they think, oh, their life might be better than theirs and that sort of thing. And it can lead to, once again, low self-esteem, depression, that sort of thing. So the emotional part of this really does play a huge role. And I agree with you there. As far as the intellectual side of things, the social media can be very informational. Um, it gives the people new ways to present information, but it then you kind of talked about it's hard to tell what is true and what's not, right? Anyone can post on social media and say this is true, but really just kind of figuring out what is true and what's not is important for that intellectual side of things. So, once again, great job. I loved hearing from you this semester and hearing your side of things as a dietitian. So I hope you have a wonderful summer and we'll talk soon.